Good Monday morning. It's time for Be Still. And we're going to talk a little bit about struggling. How about that? Struggling today. Very soon I'm going to be turning 40 years old. And when I think about the age of 40, the first thing that pops into my mind is Exodus in the Old Testament. Because obviously they wandered through the wilderness for 40 years to get to the promised land. By the way, a trip that, from what I've just kind of read, they had to go about 500, 600 kilometers to reach this area from Egypt to the land of Canaan. So 500 to 600 kilometers roundabout. Should have taken them about 15 days, maybe a little less, maybe more, but like 15 days to travel that distance. Took them 40 years. 40 years. Listen to this. This is in Numbers chapter 14, verse 34. For 40 years, 1 year for each of the 40 days you explored the land, you will suffer for your sins and know what it is like to have me against you. That's pretty heavy. I definitely don't want to be fighting against God in any way, shape, or form. But I always reflect on this 40-year thing because I think to myself, my gosh, 40 years. What does that look like in our life, in our lifestyle, or whatever? Well, how about addiction? How about having addiction issues? You can get lost in addiction for 40 years. There's certain things that you can be addicted to that just never ends. I mean, pretty much everybody I know that smokes, dips, chews tobacco has been doing it for over 40 years because most of those people are older. Been doing it for longer than 40 years. There's one way, not to mention other forms of addiction. So you could certainly get lost in that. But for my purposes today, and as it relates to golf, I'm more like I want to know more about like what have I done in the 40 years that I've been alive, or let's say the last 5 years, the last 10 years. How have I had a negative impact on myself? Or how have I not allowed myself to reach my full fulfillment in whatever it is that the Lord has for me, or whatever it is that I'm trying to pursue in terms of ambitions? And I can't help but think, am I doing all the things that I can possibly do to be my very best? Whether it's being a great dad, or being a great husband, or being a great golfer, or being a great employee, whatever that may be, am I doing everything that I can do to be able to get there? And then, am I doing things that is hindering me from achieving those goals? Well, if you go back and you read in Exodus, you read in Numbers and Joshua and all these books, as the Israelites are trying to move through Egypt and into the promised land, you'll find a lot of things going on. Tons of complaining. They complained about everything. Even when great signs and miracles and everything else were given to them, they still complained. It was never good enough for them. They wanted, we think in our life now that we want things instantaneous because everything seems to be right at our fingertips now. Well, they wanted the same things then. They wanted instantaneous. And when they didn't get that, this is a part that kind of links back to what I talked about last week on Be Still. All they knew was Egypt, slavery, that life of difficulty, but they knew that. And they were okay going back to that, which is crazy to me. They know that their promises ahead of them, they're okay with going back into slavery, going back into struggle, going back, because that's what they knew. They didn't know anything any different. And because of their beliefs, their self-beliefs, because of their unfaithfulness, even though they'd seen all these miracles and all these signs that God had performed before them and was currently performing before them, although they had all those signs and miracles and everything, they just couldn't get out of their own way to see the fruits of their labor, to fulfill the fruits of their labor. And not only that, do it in a way, do it in a timely manner. Instead, they're disobedient, they lack faith, they lack self-belief, and ultimately, anyone who was over 20 years of age during that time didn't even get to see the promised land. Their children did, but nevertheless, they wandered around for years and years and years and years, still seeking the answers and still just rummaging around and not getting anywhere, spinning their wheels in their own tracks, basically, because they just didn't want to obey and believe in what God had shown them and promised to them, which ultimately would have the self-belief that they could get there. So, all this in saying, as it comes to golf, or as it comes to success in life in any way, shape, or form, there's a right way and there's a wrong way. And the right way, it's not always going to be super fast. It's going to require some patience, but you will get to your end point much quicker than if you choose the wrong way. There's no real shortcuts in there are no shortcuts in success. One of my favorite quotes from a coach is from Nick Saban, and he just simply says, "It takes what it takes." The most elite athletes, or the biggest achievers, or the highest achievers, those with the most success, it takes what it takes. It takes the time that it takes. It takes the effort that it takes. There are no shortcuts to being unbelievably successful. And if you don't take shortcuts, although the journey might take a little while, it might take you 11 or 12 days, it might take you 2 or 3 years, it's going to be a lot quicker if you go that route than if you try to take shortcuts and then fail, then have to go back again, and you restart, then you get discouraged, or you're not as obedient, or you're not as devoted as you were before, so you take some more setbacks, and then you keep doing this yo-yo effect, and next thing you know, 10, 15, 20 years has gotten behind you, and you're nowhere. You're right where you were at the start. So, valuable lesson here, if you go back in the Old Testament and look through this. And here's how I'm going to finish this up. You could also look at that and say, well, my goodness, the Lord was right there with them. Surely he could have pulled them through. And no, he gives us a choice. He allows us to choose our destination at times. And you say, well, he's awfully mean to make them struggle and to suffer like that. He didn't make them struggle and suffer. They chose that path for themselves. Guess what? Just like everybody else, you have to choose to put that bottle to your mouth and to take that drink. You have to choose to take that cigarette and put it in your mouth and take the puff off of it and inhale it. You have to choose to put the tobacco in your mouth. You choose to do that. Nobody's taking that pinch of tobacco and stuffing it in your mouth and keeping it there. You chose that. You chose that path and that journey. Guess what? No one made you sit around on the couch instead of going out to practice. No one made you sit there and watch television when you could have been out doing your exercises and working out to get stronger and faster. No one forced you to do that. You put yourself in that position. So, Just remember that. You have a choice. And your choice can be to go out and do great and wonderful things, or your choice can be, I'm just going to kind of go through each day and just see what it offers me. There's nothing there for the taking. Go out and take it. Take today. Go out and do something with it. Go out and make the most of it. Whether it's in your job, or it's on the golf course, in life, whatever it may be. Go out. Don't have any setbacks. Don't put yourself in that position where it takes you much longer, double the time, triple the time, to achieve the things that you want to achieve. You'll be glad that you tackled the day and that you made something of it. Hope you enjoyed this week. See you again next time.
Tomorrow's win begins today. Swing with faith, let your spirit fly.